Welcome all. We will start, and some people might join us on the way. My name is Sonja Betschart. I'm one of the co-founders and co-CEO of WeRobotics, and I'm very, very happy to be able to just frame this webinar. So throughout 2022, I have been part of a collective initiated and facilitated by Ashoka Europe to bring together a group of European Ashoka Fellows with multiple and diverse identities. The goal of our collective and the many passionate discussions we had in 2022 was to co-create a manifesto to change the gender narrative. The first version, published in late 2022, is still work in progress. It's a base for discussion and future action proposed by European female Ashoka Fellows in relation to the most urgent mindset shifts needed to advance gender equity. We are sharing the link to the manifesto in the chat. The link was also part of our blog post, so hopefully some of you already had time to have a look at it. Now, how has this led to this webinar? Throughout the many co-creation sessions with the collective, which were always very lively, as many of us fellows who were part of the collective do very different work and come from very different European backgrounds. Like, we had many discussions where I always asked myself, now what would my female colleagues in Africa, Latin America, and Asia say? What would be their take? How would this point or the discussions that we had resonate with them? And how would they challenge the points and our European point of view on that? Today, and thanks to this webinar, this dream of mine to pick the luminous brains and hearts of my sisters from around the planet is becoming reality. This thanks to first and foremost my colleague Mfon, who has organized and will be facilitating this webinar and has brought together the panel of speakers. A big thanks also to you, the speakers, dear Virginie, Mary Jane, Boipilo, Diana, Danya, Mitzi, Erika, and Namrata, for being part. With that, I now get to enjoy the conversation and learn from all of you. Over to you, dear Mfon.
Thank you very much, Sonja. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Mfon Dechuku, and I work as community coordinator at WeRobotics. I also have here with me my colleague, Claudina. She's managing the technical aspects of this event. A few things to note before we begin the webinar is, please keep your microphone on mute if you're not speaking. And you are also welcome to use the chat function to ask questions and contribute to the discussions. We will also have time for the audience to share their thoughts and ask questions after the speakers are done speaking. So sit tight and enjoy the session. And as Sonja has already mentioned, we're going to be addressing points from the Ashoka manifesto. And I'm going to open the floor by inviting Mary Jane from Kenya Flying Labs to share her thoughts on point 4. I believe you will already see the manifesto in the chat, so you can have a look now or maybe later to read through it. But we will begin with Mary Jane to hear her thoughts. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you, Sonja. Thank you, Mfon, and the larger team at WeRobotics and Flying Labs Network for welcoming us to this wonderful, wonderful topic. There is still so much to be done when it comes to embracing equity, and this is one of the many steps that is being taken. So thank you for having me here. So I went through the Ashoka Fellowship manifesto, and the point that really resonated with me was ending all forms of violence. Everyone deserves to live in security, dignity, and freedom. And one of the questions asked was, does it apply to a local context? And the answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm sure not only here in Kenya or in Africa, but all women would agree violence has been part of our lives from since we were young and we are older. The world statistics actually say 1 in 3 women has actually experienced some sort of violence. And that is very, very sad, actually. when people think about violence, they tend to think about the physical harm, beating someone or killing someone. But there are different types of violence that we face that cannot show in the form of bodily or physical harm, but they can range from psychological abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, emotional abuse, and this one specific one that has really come into light, technology aided abuse, that I'm sure if you are anywhere on social media or on something like Twitter, YouTube, most women who are very vocal about their views have experienced. So in my local context, Kenya has really come a long way in fighting gender-based violence. We have created desks in hospitals and police stations where women can be heard without prejudice when they come to report violence. It's still a good step, but a lot has to be done. Equity in terms of violence affects every woman from stages when you're young, from home to school, to even when you're older as a woman at the workplace. And here in Kenya, when I was thinking about violence, I was thinking in the sense of we have traditional based violence and then we have modern violence. When I say tradition, I mean we are still grappling with things like FGM. We are still facing problems like early child marriages. We are still facing problems like cattle rustling, where you find some communities are fighting for cattle and our women and girls are being taken as payment or kidnapped and raped. Then we have modern types of violence, like when I'm talking about activists here in Kenya who face online abuse, whether they're talking about sexual advancement when it comes to like the LGBTQI community or matters affecting women. So that has been a problem that we've been facing here in Kenya in terms of violence. Like I can give you an example. Some weeks back, a senator from Kenya went to parliament adorning a white suit. Then she had a period stain. And the first thing when members of parliament saw her was to heckle her and to have her get out. And when she stood up and talked on national TV and parliament in front of the world to see, and she kept saying, can you imagine those girls in classrooms who who get their periods and cannot, they don't have access to sanitary towel, they don't have access to good sexual reproductive health, and then they are being ridiculed by their friends and teachers and classmates. That brings about problems like suicide and school dropping. For her, she's a strong woman. She was able to face that, but she was trying to tell those fellow members of parliament to put herself in their shoes and think about things like period shame and what girls out there face. It was really hurtful to see. Then we have another topic that is really trending in Kenya, like where women in Kericho in the tea farms, where they're having to exchange sexual favors for job opportunities just to feed their kids. Then, when we come to the modern issues we are facing, it is the 21st century, but there has never been such a big discord between men and women. And that has bred the, I would say, anti-women propaganda on social media when you see influencers like Andrew Tate and our very own, we call them Andrew Kibe. I'm just being controversial for our Kenyan listeners. But yes, so you find this men out there, and don't get me wrong, this is not man bashing. I'm just speaking from a local perspective, where we find these men who talk about women in a very degrading manner in the name of freedom of speech, or they can say what they want. So that is just some of the ways women have been experiencing violence in Kenya. Yes, we have come a long way and we are taking steps. Like I've been having a class where we were doing a robotics class, and for the first time I have more girls than men in the class. So I'm happy seeing that more women, more girls are embracing STEM. So we still have a long way to go, but discussions like this that start from ourselves, from the workplace, from at home, are what will take us further when it comes to the gender equity discussion. That is all for my presentation. I still have more to say, but I'm looking forward to hear what the other ladies in the group will have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Jane. That was very inspiring. And I also, some of the points you have raised very much resonates with me in my own context in Nigeria. Some of these challenges, somehow they cut across countries and cultures. And up next, we have Biopelo from South Africa Flying Labs, who will also be discussing on a point from the Ashoka manifesto. Biopelo would be talking about care is the fundamental leadership attribute and is at the core of our economy. Hi, Biopelo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to everybody that has tuned in. Right now, it's actually 4:15 in South Africa, so good afternoon to everyone from my side. My name is Boipelo Moraka, and I am part of the SA Flying Labs. I've just, it's not recent, but it's been a few months since I've joined the SA Flying Labs. And fortunately I've been awarded the opportunity to lead within this role that I've been appointed in within the organization. So that is why this topic is it resonated with me more than the other topics. And this is basically the first time I've been in a leadership role in my career, in my entire career. So before I started with the role, I obviously had to do some research on how to go about fulfilling my role within the organization. And when I did do some research, something came up. I do Google quite a lot. So I went on Google to find out about this, and I found something that abbreviated the word care as a leader. And the C stood for connect on a personal level. The A was anticipate needs. The R was relentlessly pursue greatness, and E was to empower. Not only was I or am I a leader for my subordinates within the company, but within the organization, but I am a facilitator as well. We do host 4-hour workshops within the organization. So we go around traveling the whole of South Africa trying to promote 4IR and emerging technologies in the world. We promote that for underprivileged and impoverished communities. So with that being said, obviously that gave me a role to also lead in that sense. Another thing that also resonates with me is a quote that I also found on the internet. I know that Queen that you all know from the SA Flying Lab and the rest of the team, they call me a Google mom because I Google everything that I need to know about anything. And the quote from Nelson Mandela came up that says, "It is better to lead from behind and to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory. When nice things occur, you take the front line where there is danger, then people will appreciate your leadership." He also said, "To be a great leader, one must never give up. Try to bring people together and be selfless. Leadership is about working with and for others to achieve a common goal that benefits everyone." This is from our great leader that we all know, Nelson Mandela. When this topic came into mind, he definitely when I chose this topic, he came into mind. This is one of the greatest leaders that South Africa and Africa and the whole world as a whole have gotten to experience, have gotten the privilege to experience. In my instance, in the industry that I am in, which is the drone space, I've started this role or this career in 2015, and this had been a male-dominated industry for the most part of my career. And even when I started, leadership did not understand the kind of problems that we would face as subordinates or people that are under management. They didn't understand, and so they couldn't connect with us on a more personal level. For example, if you're a woman and
Thank you very much, Biopola. I'd definitely love to have your care definition. I think it's really good. I think it's something we should possibly all have in our corner to remind us that care is not something that is not a role that is for a woman or mother. Anyone can take up a leadership position, and care is very, very important in this context as a leader. And even more so, if we're talking about leaders, I think women are well placed to take up these roles, whether at home or in their office or whatever place they choose to. Up next we have is Dania from Panama Flying Labs. Dania chose actually 2 points to address, but we'll see because we have to get to all the speakers. So Dania, if you can address your 2 points, but also try to make it short so we can have the floor for other speakers to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mfon. Thank you, Flying Labs Network. As Mfon mentioned, my name is Dania Montenegro. I'm from Flying Labs Panama, and I'm a Spanish speaker, and I know we have Spanish speakers here also. So I will concentrate all my brain and my heart and soul in one. That is, this was the one that inspires me. Solidarity and sisterhood is incentivized and respected in all aspects and moments of life. Why I select this one? Because when I hear solidarity and sisterhood, it just came to my mind the word support. Support, because if we support each of us in our dreams, in what we imagine, in what we try, we try and we fail and we stand up right at the second moment. If we support creating to thrive, to reach goals, to generate impact with each single activity and our voices. We are having solidarity and we are believing in sisterhood. If we support the she-to-she and promote their sayings, we will inspire the silent voices in those areas of the planet where they are forced to be in silence. If we support and act with solidarity and sisterhood with our female emerging leaders, and here right now, I'm pretty sure each single woman that is connected, woman in this case, remember I speak Spanish, verbs and all those things is not my, if we support each single emerging woman, I'm pretty sure each of you are emerging leaders, we will reach economical, political, and social life, create an impact. Talking about numbers, we're the half of the planet. So imagine if we can create that impact to hear each single voice of a woman, as we are the half of the planet. We will have enough voices to be heard and to co-create a renewed gender narrative, promoting, first of all, the female leadership, and I will say inspiring woman leadership. And here I want to stop because I was in a previous event this morning, today is the day, and here is 9 a.m. So we start with a breakfast for women, and they make a timeline, and it was amazing for me that women in technology has developed a lot of things, but always in the second, in the background. They didn't give their faces as the main leader, even they create that solutions. I'm sorry, I don't have that line because it just happened this morning. And I say, oh my God, it's like, we have been in the back, but it's time to inspire women leadership. And I want they asked me to be very short. I don't know how much time, I forgot to see my watch, but we cannot continue in the back as great leaders in the second plan. If we are the initial creators of the idea, and it doesn't mean we have to be in the highest point, because it's not what we are looking for, but it's to create impact and inspire those little girls to go to school and continue studying, and inspire, and you know what? Just not inspire, but a day like today start a long time ago, more than 100 years ago. And behind us, and why we start with this day, our tears, our lives. It was a war. So we need to honor that women that start this movement, that and they start this movement, and this is why we have voices today to be in this webinar talking about the manifesto. So I think that the key is, if I talk about solidarity and sisterhood, I will think in supporting that she-to-she. And I will end my point of view with a phrase I love from Teresa Calcutta. She say, you can do what I can do. I can do what you can do. But together, we can do great things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dania. Thank you. And welcome again, everyone who is just joining us. We are discussing the recently published Ashoka Manifesto. We've just heard from Dania from Panama Flying Labs. Up next we have is Erica from Bolivia Flying Labs. Erica will be addressing the same point from this document, ending all forms of violence. We all deserve to live in security, dignity, and freedom. Hi, Erica, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So I am honored to speak to you on this International Women's Day. As someone who works with a global organization called Flying Labs, the word fly is very familiar to me. For us, it means flying a drone or doing our work. But what does it mean for a woman to fly? To fly is to let go of the weight that keeps us from going somewhere else, to cut the chains that holds us back, to be free. Unfortunately, violence is everywhere. And sometimes it's hard to see, especially when it comes from someone we love. I know this from personal experience, as I am currently dealing with the aftermath of a marriage filled with psychological and economic violence. I loved my partner, and I had a lot of empathy, compassion, and understanding for him. I thought I was the problem and felt guilty. I did everything I could to change, so I could finally be loved and accepted. But this was never enough. I became a completely different person, and I was still not good enough to be loved. Then I realized I couldn't see what I was doing to myself. I didn't have empathy, compassion, understanding, or love for myself. I gave my partner the opportunity to hurt me, and he did. Our judicial system needs a completely broken person or a dead person to finally listen to us. I am broken, mistreated for almost 4 years, and I still have fear, panic attacks, lots of stress and pain. I am a victim, but I choose not to remain a victim forever because I now love myself and I know I am enough. I am a resilient woman who, despite all the pain, will keep moving forward. We may not be able to stop violence in the world, but we can stop violence in our lives. To do so, we need to love ourselves enough not to give anyone the opportunity to hurt us. In order to fly and fly really high, we need to first love ourselves. So fly also stands for first love yourself. It's not easy and it takes time and effort, but it's worth it. As we celebrate International Women's Day, let's remember that ending violence for all means ending violence against women, girls, and all marginalized groups. It starts with us, with loving ourselves and treating ourselves with the respect and dignity that we deserve. It starts with speaking up and speaking out against violence, whether it's happening to us or to someone else. It starts with taking action, supporting organizations that work to end violence, and advocating for policies and laws that protect victims and hold perpetrators accountable. Thank you for listening, and let's all fly high together. But remember, you have to first love yourself.
Thank you so much, Erika. Thank you so much. Up next we have is Mitzi from Panama Flying Labs.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hi,
I'm Mitzi from Panama, as Enfon mentioned. And in my case, I also was very keen and attracted by that part of the Ashoka manifesto in which we talk about care as the fundamental leadership attribute. And also it's at the core of the economy, mainly because, here, in Latin America, if you speak that way in an open space where there are men and women, that would sound like their way to speak. Right? When you say care is a fundamental leadership attribute, it's very, I would say it's almost shocking for some in the room, because care for us in Latin America is always tied to females. Caregiving is most of the time related to women, and it's very, I think it's work to do, homework for us. I can see there's a lot of progress about it, especially now that we have this open mind shift in society, mainly because of technology, where it seems like women, we have taken the opportunity and pushed the door to get in. Now that technology is leading most of the economical activities in our country. However, there's homework to do, as I mentioned. In our country, in Panama, we are very linked, and we become very emotional of different topics, right? When it comes to family, women, we have a good thing, you know, we always tend to take care of ours, and I think that happens around the world. But there's also the men's side, and I would probably I will sound a little daring when I say, but I really think this is true. Men and women are empowered by nature equally, you know, especially when it comes to caregiving, the things that we haven't really think about it. We haven't realized how our differences really contribute to building a better environment. And it has a lot of perspectives, right? It has a lot of corners we need to still search and investigate to really understand it. But to me, men and women are empowered by nature to be caregivers. You know, that's why I also was very, attracted to this point of the manifesto, because it's very little that you listen about caregiving as part of the economy. That's the other point. If you think about caregiving in Latin America, is always tied to either a mother's role or of a woman that takes care of kids or elder people. However, I learned by experience that the economy of the future is completely tied and fundamented on the caregiving leadership style. Why I say my experience? Because, you know, I had this opportunity of starting my labor life in a very demanding space, which is air traffic services. And speaking about men world, right? Because when I got in for the first time, we were like 3 women only, and the rest of the guys there were majority. We were sent to study specific areas to Brazil, and in my case, I was one in a room of 30 men, and it's mainly because of the ability to look at the space in a very natural way, how you can connect dots without having the picture in front of you. That's mainly the major talent they were looking for in air traffic services at the beginning. That was really what opened the door for me there. But when I got in, we finalized the training, I realized that there were no differences between us. You know, we were all doing the same things in that space. And we were like a woman by shift. The rest were men. And, you know, the short stories that I was able to grow within just because of that natural talent and that natural heritage I got from my family, that all women have capacities equal as men, and you have, if that's your choice, you can start doing things that can get you into the men's majority world in labor. So after that, I had the chance to go into the multinational sphere, and there, for me at the beginning, that was kind of shocking, because the leadership style I learned in the traffic services was pretty different from what I was supposed to do in this multinational company, where I was leading people to take care of cases where it was a customer care department at the beginning for United States and Canada, and we were located in Panama. And I spent 3 months working with HR on trying to change my leadership style, all because I was so used to, commanding in the air traffic services world, and now I have to shift everything into understanding my team, taking care of them, to have them really take care of the situations that the customers were calling for. And I spent in that company 11 years. And I realized that definitely that was the right way, because as I changed my leadership style, it also helped me in my family to understand and learn how to better interact and, the livelihood with my family. I was already married. I had two children. They now are independent completely, and one man and one woman. So I had this challenge of raising them together, trying to have them understand that they were equally treated, equally loved, and all things. So the fact that I changed my leadership style helped me a lot on using this caregiving natural talent, into shaping my style of treating people also. So I think this part of the manifesto really has a lot that we still have to, a lot of potential. We need to deep dive and take more out and really use it to promote women in all spheres in the world. And specifically on the side of economy, for me, it was very eye-opening. Some facts that I read getting prepared for this one, which statistics say that 80% of the caregivers in the world are women. And it's not, most of the time, it's not because they choose to be, it's because that's the only opportunity they have. And for me, it's very challenging and daring, the fact that we are losing so much of men that has very high talent on caregiving also. I'm married, I have friends, and I know men that have this caregiving, way of treating people is there. But the world is still fighting to change. And that's another thing that I really love from the manifesto, the change makers. We need to be more change makers. There's still men out there that really love to have women being promoted and understand our equality. But definitely there's a lot of work to do. So just wanted to share this with you. That's why I really got touched by this part of the manifesto, and I would love to still promote it within the network if there's any other opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mitzi. Care also happens to be one of the most popular points amongst the panelists. Up next, we have is Diana Banda, who is also going to be speaking on the points Mitzi has just addressed. And so let's hear from her perspective what she thinks of this manifesto. Hi, Diana, can you hear me?
I'll start. I'll do my best.
Yeah.
My name is Diana. I am the community engagement lead for Zimbabwe Flying Labs. Fundamental leadership attribute and is at the core of our economy. I was challenged by this manifesto statement, and I took time to make it my own. Because it requires action, not just a hollow statement that tickles those who are in power, but rather to make real practical action towards this ideal. This statement got me thinking and asking myself some questions like, am I a good leader? Or rather, what kind of leader am I? What kind of leader am I subject to? Are we empathetic in the way we lead? And do we care about the people we work with? These questions were not difficult to answer, but of course there was a resounding yes to all of them, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to take stock and see how we were sensitive to the people around us. And this is how. As a community engagement lead, I manage 26 strong volunteer base. that I affectionately call my A-team. Why do I call them my A-team? Because as a leader, I care. I believe acknowledging that they are an important and valuable member of Zimbabwe Flying Labs, making them feel valued and have a sense of belonging. Of those 26, 10 of them are women, and 10 of those are those professionals, and some of those are students. It's important for us to know their background, because as a leader, I care about where they're at in their professional journey. If it gives me an opportunity to make a meaningful contribution to their life, make meaningful connections to them as well, it's important that I do that as a leader. Yes, checking up on all 26 of them is hard work, but it's the difference between a despondent volunteer and a volunteer that is with you and is committed to your. We have mothers, wives, students, and professionals making an invaluable contribution to the ecosystem of Zimbabwe. Because we are aware of the roles of women in the local context, we roster our activities and we are sensitive to those roles. So it means if one of the ladies couldn't get a sitter that week, we'll tell them, hey, child, they can join in the program this week, so that they do not lose out in participating in things that they enjoy and like and they are part of. I believe that this conversation has started and we are making progress in the local context. If we have leaders that are empathetic and use emotional intelligence to lead people, it becomes leaders that we become leaders that are more engaged and ensure full participation of women in the technology space. Finally, I leave you with this. Dolly Parton once said, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader.
Thank you very much, Dania. Thank you very much, Diana. Sorry, we have two very similar names today. Thank you very much. And up next we have is Virginie, also talking about care as a fundamental leadership attribute. Hi, Virginie, can you hear me?
Hi, I hope you can all hear me clearly.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mfon. Thank you, everybody who attended, and of course, all these beautiful faces. I think care is very important because I can see a lot of ladies are resonating with this subject, and it means just so much to me. And I'm, of course, standing on the shoulders of giants who have spoken about care before me, and I'm just adding my thoughts to it and, just building this amazing topic. So when it comes to care, I think it's very important to have within you as a leader. And because whilst you have to care about the people that you're serving, the economy, the youth, all of that in order to serve adequately or to actually make an impactful change. So that's why care, was really resonating very close with me. By definition, care kind of is actually provision of what is necessary for health, wealth care, and maintenance of somebody or something. And I know we all have that ability within us to care, which is like our little, our light to shine. So today I'm going to just give you a brief background behind how my light shines when it comes to care. So my name is Virginie. I'm a civil engineer as well as a drone pilot, and I'll give you my little my care story that has brought me up to here today to be in front of you. I chose civil engineering because I felt that through that profession, you can make a huge difference in society. When you go inside and you see areas where there is not enough water, sanitation, or adequate solid waste management, you can't help but have a broken heart and think about how you can care and change the society where you're living. When you see that we have young kids, youth that are or mothers, even when you see them rummaging through solid waste that the dump site, anything, looking for just anything, a piece of bread, anything that somebody has left behind. You can't stop but say, okay, isn't there something I can do from an engineering perspective? Maybe we can better these communities. When you see mothers without water, in order to put in, water in the formula to breastfeed their kids, or, if both men and women, we all suffer from, this lack of basic human rights, which means access to water, access to proper healthcare, access to sanitation. We can't help but care and want to do that. And my care story comes from a perspective of being a civil engineer, where perhaps I could use that power to give access to proper healthcare or sanitation or whatever from an engineering perspective. And it is through care that I became a civil engineer. And it is again through care where I thought perhaps I could do more if I joined the Flying Labs network or I became a drone pilot. There I can really perhaps, get whether it's funding, whether it's getting involved with youth-based projects, just to give as much care as I possibly can. And that's why this topic is very important to me. So for me, care doesn't go alone. It goes hand in hand with ethics. And ethics really has to do with your moral principles. And I think if you put care and ethics together, I actually wrote here, care is a superpower that together with ethics can lead to a stronger society. And I always feel that it's, of course, it's not only the responsibility of women, it's responsibility of all of us, actually, when it comes to care. I know I gave you my little superpower story. This is the part of the presentation I might reveal my age. I'm not sure how many of you remember a cartoon when we were much younger. It was called the Care Bears. So it was little teddy bears, something like this. And in the middle, they had like a little heart. And each one of them had their superpower kind of engraved in the front here. So I just gave you my Care Bear superpower from an engineering perspective. So probably to have like an engineering, civil engineering, a hard hat or something here. But I strongly believe all of you have this superpower within you from all your individual, unique, brilliant, amazing perspectives. And I would love to think that we could reach a world where we all hold hands. I mean, the Care Bears always had this Care Bear front that would put up together, would hold hands and solve the problem as one. So yeah, if you watch the cartoon, you would know. If not, I've revealed my age a bit here, but it's okay. For the sake of the presentation, I'm happy to share my Care Bear power, but I'd also like to challenge all of you to share your Care Bear power. So this is a superpower that's going to come from you, together with care, together with ethics. And so the challenge I'd like to leave for all of us here today is that we take a moment today to take care of someone or something, or even if it's ourselves, share a moment of care, because even if it's 30 minutes, 5 minutes, that little moment of care can really change somebody's future and perhaps even your future. So take care of yourself. And remember to be a lovely Care Bear to everybody around you. So much love from Namibia Flying Labs.
Thank you very much, Virginie. That was funny. Up next we have is Namrata from India Flying Labs, also addressing the same point.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So yeah, firstly, wishing all the beautiful men and the women here, the women especially, happy International Women's Day, and all the men, it's all our day today. So yes, on that note, I would like to sort of talk about my views of being coming from the Asian perspective, or especially from one of the largest countries in Asia, which is India, and coming from the India Flying Labs. So I want to talk about solidarity and sisterhood and how it can be sort of incentivized and respected. For me, obviously, when I looked at solidarity as as a word, the first thing that comes is you're talking about support. You're talking about building communities where women are coming together, they are working towards a common cause, they're looking at, breaking all the stereotypes, breaking the gender biases. But somewhere I feel that it's really not within looking within, but it's also looking at how do you look at the external factors. And here, that's where I feel that when we are talking about gender equality, it's very important for us to not really talk about just sisterhood, but also talk about the male counterpart and how they react to actually respecting women, right? How is the second gender that we are talking about? For that matter, right now, we also today are talking about living in a world where we are looking at a third gender, where we are looking at communities, where we are talking about LGBTQ. So there is a completely third community or gender also that today is evolving. And how are we creating societies or communities, to sort of even include them? So it's all about including all these communities together, all these genders together. So in that, what I really feel, especially coming from India, where more than 50% of our people live in rural areas. So here, it's not just about being men and women, but here we are also talking about two different stratas of the society. We are talking about two completely different sort of landscapes that we are coming on from, where we are talking about urban landscapes, and we are also talking about rural landscapes. So the challenges that we are facing in an urban community or an urban city is completely different from what the challenges are in the rural counterpart. So I think that sort of needs to also be addressed, maybe as part of the manifesto, or something that very sort of comes from a grassroots level, at least down here in India. So I think that sort of needs to be given, like very rightly put by my colleagues here who spoke before me, that women have always been looked as caregivers, right? We already have that role that we have been sort of assigned by the society. That is something that women are typically looked at. And the second role, I think, is of educators. So we are primarily also not just caregivers, but also educators. But apart from that, where are we talking about STEM education? When we are talking about education, we are only talking about, say, primary level education. We are also just talking up till, say, secondary education. But what about STEM education? What about higher education? So I think that perspective also with respect to women sort of need to change. A good practice here in India that we have seen, which I would like to share with here, is that we also have a lot of women's self-help groups here in India, where we are talking about these small businesses and how, sisterhood has a very, very, very positive role to play in these sort of communities, where small businesses start from households of women just coming together, gathering in some part of the of a rural sort of, just below a tree. They start with a business, and then that self-help group sort of is helping, right? The word self-help group itself is where the community sort of comes together and tries to make an economic business out of whatever they want to make of. So I think that's a very thriving model here, especially in the rural areas of India, and that is something that definitely is here to stay and here to grow, and something that we can all sort of learn from. So apart from that, I think just to sort of get all this together, apart from looking at celebrating women's achievement, looking at creating spaces which are safer for women in cities, looking at advocating women's right, all that is happening, but instead of actually putting them on a pedestal where you're saying that, this is women and we need to sort of, celebrate their achievements or look at women rights separately. I think the primary thing from where it needs to start is to actually also engage the men to actually see how they need to treat women, how they need to look at gender perspective, like I said, from the men's point of view. I think that is something, if sort of that part gets sorted out, we are fine within ourselves as gender, right? We all females together, we are very, very powerful. We are very, very cooperative. So it's not really, like I said, about the sisterhood, but it's also the external factor of the men coming in. So with that, on the education part, I would just like to end by saying that, like I said, what we need really is, so when we started talking about sustainable development a few years back, or about environmental science, this was not a part of the school curriculum, right? It was not a part of grassroots level education. So that suddenly sort of then came in, people started talking about it, and now we are all talking about sustainable development. I think similarly, if education on gender equality, on gender studies can be started right at the education at primary level, I think that is something where both men and women can actually become, can learn to coexist, can learn to, sort of be together. And I think that will create a better society. So that's my viewpoint on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Namrata. We have just a few minutes left to hear from the audience. We're going to open the floor to hear from you what your views are regarding the Ashoka manifesto, or if you have questions for the speakers. Feel free to unmute, or you can also use the chat to share your questions or comments. Hi, Renee, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, happy Women's Day, International Women's Day. I was in another event earlier on live, talking to young people that are studying technical technology in general. And I happen that I'm really happy to be here, because all of you women that are leading in our countries a lot of things related to technology are, and first of all, being in some countries the first ones. As I heard, some of you are being in between a lot of men. You started like that, but now I understand that we're doing great. Women are putting together all the effort and are leading a lot of companies. I met this morning young girls that are leading companies in technology. That was great. And based on what Flying Labs is doing, and also all of you, I just want to say thank you. And I want to ask one question. Being a mother, have babies, and also working this, can you give us just a hint of one of you that you are doing that?
Can you repeat your question again?
Yes, I just want to ask you how you do it, being a woman, a mother with kids, and also dealing with drones and technology. Happened to be that I have my grandson staying in my house last night, and the mother wasn't there, the father wasn't there, so only my wife and myself, and it's hard. So I just wanted to point that thing.
Thank you. Do the speakers want to answer?
Just one of you. That will be great. I have 3 kids. Mitzi mentioned that. Somebody else?
I think I'll just go for it. Like I said, I think it's just not us again. I mean, like I said, it's the husband also, the counterpart, who needs to support, because if there is no support, we are all going to have our hair also all over the place. So again, I'm sure that it's just better time management, and again, talking with your partner and juggling. And I think life is just about juggling everything.
Yes. It takes us back to Mitzi's point that men and women can be caregivers. From my side, I have 2 kids, and I rely heavily on the support of my husband, and where I can, any other external help I can get, because I know I cannot do it alone. So no woman is a rock star. I do not like when they call me a superwoman. I'm not a superwoman. I'm just a human being, just like the next person. So don't call me a superwoman. Help me if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that just that the fact that Renee mentioned, I'm a grandma too. I'm a new grandma, and it had happened to me. I've been alone with my kids, that grandson here, and it definitely is learning to work in teams. There's no other way. It could be your spouse, or it could be, an auntie, someone. but you need to have some support around you and learn to work as a team. That's the only way to do it. There's no other way.
So I think we have come to the end of the session today. The overwhelming message I heard from the speakers is that we have come a long way as women, but there's still a lot to be done. I attended a session earlier today organized by World Trade Organization, and I found out that women, as a result of the pandemic, much of the women empowerment achievements, pandemic and the global economic challenge has set us back by, say, 30 years. That's what I heard. I didn't say it. And World Bank also states that out of 76 million poor people globally, 47 are women and girls. So which again emphasizes that there's still a lot of work to be done and the responsibility lies on each and every one of us. Thank you very much to the ladies in the Flying Labs. I know how much work you put in educating girls, especially in the STEM field. I think we all have a responsibility and a role to play within our communities. Take back the message from the speakers, use the manifesto as much as you can within your community and continue to spread the word. Once again, happy International Women's Day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Bye-bye, yeah.
Thank you.